Hey, beautiful freaks. Welcome to In Too Deep. I'm your host, Jack Rowland. Today, I'm joined by all-round exceptional human being, Solomon Petrovski. Sol is a qualified Gestalt Psychotherapist of 15 years, a trained martial artist practicing in Ninjitsu, and founder of The Mind Ninja, therapy and coaching which draws from his expertise in psychology and the wisdom learned through martial arts. The work Sol does really is great, from effectively helping people while they're at their worst to empowering people to strive for their very best. All right, let's get deep with the Mind Ninja, Solomon Petrovski.
Is there a point to all this?
I think we're getting in too deep.
You don't apply. Bad luck.
Well, I have one speed, I have one gear. Go, 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 go.
I'll tell you when we're getting in too deep.
God damn, you look good, Jack.
Oh,
God damn, you look good.
is it hot in here? Is the heating on?
God damn, Prince.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Prince of Preston. Is that what we're rocking these days?
Prince of Preston. I'll fucking
Preston.
definitely take that. Impressed in you every day.
It's so cheesy. I love it.
So, man, it is so good to see you, dude.
It's good to see you too, brother.
As I said just before, I sincerely regret not having you in my life more, really. You're just
Then
fucking...
let's take some action.
Let's do it. Action now!
Action now. Let's take
Fuck
some
yeah,
action,
man.
man. I'm here.
Yeah, sweet.
So-
Fantastic.
I'm here, brother. Let's do it.
I'm into it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's catch up, man. I'm down for it. I love
Fuck
good
yeah.
people in my life.
Yep.
Jack.
Awesome. Great. We met, you were a customer at a cafe, and it was love at first sight, really, wasn't it?
It really was. It really was. Not going to lie. It was an interesting time in my life, and you boys were just the highlight, truly the highlight of my day. Some of the laughing we did in there.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure we would have annoyed a lot of the people a lot of the time.
I remember one time you laughed so loud, like everyone jumped out of their seat. The entire cafe was just like freaked out.
Yeah.
Everyone was freaked out.
Yeah.
And then you were just sitting there with your hands in your head in your hands.
So between you two boys and your shenanigans, which, like I said, like I'd be devastated if I walked in and one of you two boys weren't there, because like your humor, your characters, the way we all bounced off each other was just so powerful.
Synergy.
And it really always got me thinking about the power of laughter.
Dude, man, I've come to completely believe laughter is better than sex. It's the best thing in the world.
It is so important.
Yep.
And I remember when I used to lecture, I'd run a whole section on it in terms of how much are you laughing in your life?
Yeah.
And you see the faces of the people like, yeah, I laugh. No. How much real, genuine laughter do you have in your life? Like, do you have people in your life that make you laugh? I mean, really make you laugh. Like, I knew when you walked in tonight, like, we're going to go deep, of course, but I knew before all of that, we're going to be on the floor, side splitting. From something.
If I don't get a bellowing laugh out of you,
Right.
I'll be upset. But hey,
Right.
We'll see.
And so I got them thinking about how much laughter they have in their life, what do they have around them, and what sort of things make them laugh, and can you trick yourself into laughing?
Yeah.
And people often say, well, it's not a good thing to trick yourself into something because it doesn't, you're not being true to how you really feel. And to some extent, I get that. You got to be genuine to how you're feeling and validate that. But at some point, you got to shift it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was at the point where you know enough about yourself, and you got to get into action mode. At some point, you got to shift it. And when you're so used to being serious and sad, sometimes you got to trick yourself.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah.
You guys were a trick for me.
Sick. I'm happy to be the trick.
Yeah.
A sneaky little trick I am.
Sneaky little trick. But you guys were a trick for me. I knew every day coming into the cafe was going to trick me into accessing that part of myself that I had lost.
Excellent. Oh, man, that's so nice to hear.
And those bellowing laughs was accessing a part of my place that I completely lost.
Yeah.
I got swallowed up by the seriousness of life.
It's funny that you even frame it as like a real challenging time for you because, like, man, you could have fooled me when we
Right.
were all just like having such a good time. And by the way, when you refer to the guys, it was Andy Ross, who's also been on this podcast a bunch. Shout out to Gumboots Man himself.
Gumboots Man, my man, Big A. Much love, my brother, if you're listening.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. Like, I mean, even on what you're saying about tricking yourself, like, I don't really need a huge amount to prompt me into laughing. But have you ever seen or partaken in like one of those forced laughing exercises? Because it's one of those things that you look and you're like, that is cringe as fuck. But if you actually just like, it's impossible not to laugh because it's so awkward. And then you just like nervous laugh, and then it just turns into.
I haven't done one, but I've seen them, and I 100% believe.
Yeah, it's cringe, but it's awesome.
100%.
I'm into it.
And watching people laugh makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I've got a thing that I do as a part of my self-care routine, which I'm sure we're going to get into. And then you're asking me about how do you do the work and not have the work kill you in essence, like with being a practitioner.
Yep.
But part of that is laughing. And I've got one of my dearest friends whom I speak to every day. He's completely off the charts. You know, he just sees the world in such a different way. He's an author, he's an artist. He's wacky, he's zany, he's crazy, he's a genius, absolute genius. And he's by far the funniest man I know. And people that know me dearly will know who I'm talking about. And so I call him every day.
Yeah.
He calls me for content, for his work, and I call him for laughs.
Yep.
And we have a mutually beneficial relationship like that. And we've been friends for 12 years, and we're so close. And it's my laughter therapy for the day.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I think everyone needs it. Everyone needs a place where they can go and laugh.
Yeah.
You know? And time that they can set aside to do that, especially when things are hard.
Yeah, man. It's so important, the people we surround ourselves with, right? Because, you know, like, fuck, if we're in a dark place and stuff, and sometimes people are really there for you, and sometimes your friends can become your therapist, but sometimes that becomes habit, right? And then it's kind of like, yeah, let's it just becomes serious time all the time. But like,
yeah, and you need friends, that don't kind of join in that kind of
feed it or...
that feed that kind of victim state that we can often find ourselves in when we're dark. Look, you know, sometimes it can be healthy for people to feel sorry for us. You know, it's not all bad, but who you surround yourself is really important. It can either really bring you down or really pick you up and make you hopeful and make you inspired.
Yeah.
Like I had someone very dear to me spend a night with me last week who was, you know, going through something, and we didn't really talk about it so much, but just with my energy and the things that I talk about, and you know, the job that I do and some of the things that I see, like by the end she was bouncing. She's like, right, I've had all these things in my head and I haven't actioned any of them. Right, that's it. When I get home, I'm writing those things down and I'm just going to tick them off one by one.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I was saying this just before we started, but I've been listening to a few podcasts that you've been on recently, and man, you're so good at what you do, man. Like you triggered in myself, like just the things you're talking about of other people's situations, or whether it's talking about your work or things like self-love. The way you talk is, I get a real instant transmission, and it just kind of, it triggered, it's really helped just the last few days of listening of things that I didn't even know I particularly wanted to like sort out. It was just really, really helpful. But I thought maybe we could kind of just start with, so you've created this incredible business called Mind Ninja. When I first met you, you were turning up every other day doing ninjitsu. You were like, that was your jam, ninjitsu, and just martial arts, hardcore.
Hardcore. Yep.
Well, maybe tell me about exactly what Mind Ninja is and how that melded together.
Sure. So Mind Ninja's it's a culmination of my 15 years of experience in psychology and in martial arts. So, you know, I started private practice when I was, I don't know, in 2009, 2008, 2009. And I started Ninjitsu not too long after that. But I'd been a practicing therapist in all sorts of different government agencies from about 2005. So I'd work with families of offenders. I'd work with inside of prisons with offenders, reconnecting them to families. Real hard stuff. Mental health, homelessness, disabilities, aged care, Alzheimer's. So I'd done a fair chunk of work before I started private practice. But when I started private practice, I was in a bit of a place in my life where it just wasn't enough.
Right.
It wasn't enough. I was doing all this work. I was out there. It just wasn't enough. Like, there's got to be more to it than this. Like, I'm out there. I'm busting it on the streets for like $25 an hour. I was like, things at home, things at work weren't something wasn't adding up. Something wasn't making sense. So I was like, I gotta break this. This can't be it for me.
I know it well, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta break this. And I know I spoke about this on a different show a while ago, but I don't know why. But martial arts came to me. It's like I've been to therapy, and like I need something else. Like I'm in therapy. I am therapy. I need something else. I don't know why, man, but I always dreamt about doing some sort of martial art ever since I was younger, but I just never did. Whether it was a self-belief thing, I just never did. And
how old were you when you started it?
Early 30s.
Yeah,
early 30s when I met Sensei.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting at my desk at work, and that's all I did was just research. And I kept coming back to Hatsumi Sensei. I kept coming back to that, that little Japanese man with purple hair. It just kept I don't know what it was. Like his movements made no sense. People would just fall over. And you got jiu-jitsu over here, and he's grappling, wrestling, and all that stuff. But there's something about this guy. I could not take my eyes off him.
Did you just find him online?
Yeah.
Or
I just found him. I just could not take my eyes off him.
I've seen videos of him, by the way. Yeah.
He's he truly is a true living treasure. He really is. I think he's been given the highest award by the Japanese government that they can bestow.
Right.
I think some sort of award as a living national treasure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's incredible. He's an incredible calligrapher. He's an incredible artist. His artwork is shown around the world as well. I don't know, have you seen?
I haven't seen his artwork, no.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
His art is phenomenal. His calligraphy is phenomenal. It's all around my house. So, I'd watch videos of him painting, and then I'd watch videos of him, just absolutely wiping the floor with people. Swords, claws, chains, and I'm like, I could do it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I reached out to my sensei here in Melbourne, and he had just moved from interstate. So it was like it was meant to happen.
Great.
Yeah. And I remember my first lesson, man. I was it just reminded me of high school. Like, really, I found it really difficult to learn things. I learned through doing over time. And I think for a lot of people too, they don't try new things because they're scared of looking stupid.
Yep.
They're scared of feeling stupid, or they're scared of looking like they don't know. Then it gets hard. Then they get embarrassed. And all those things happen for me. And that's what martial arts was. It was just a mirror for me to look into over those 12 years of how I operate in the world. What do I do when I get stressed? What do I do when I get embarrassed, ashamed? What do I do when I think I should do something and I can't? What happens when I do something that I think I can't do? What do I do then? And also what my body does under duress. Like, how does the body respond to threat? Where does my mind go when I'm threatened? All these things that you would never think about. And the feedback's instant.
Yep.
But we would also do readings, Jack. We would sit down and read notes from sensei in Japan about the mind of a martial artist, the mind of martial arts, this idea of nothing is real, this idea of truth and falsehood being interchangeable. Nothing's real. Yeah? Just whatever you think is real, which in essence means you can change anything at any moment at any time. These sorts of things that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
And we're just getting bombarded with this stuff. And Sensei would show you in physical form. He'd show you. He'd be like, so you could take the wrist this way, right? But if you know I'm taking the wrist that way, you're not going to let me. So I just let go, and the wrist goes the other way. So I just take that.
Yep.
So which way's right and which way's wrong? If I'm trying to take it this way, but this is the way you want to go, and I go that way instead, which way's right? And we just sit there, and I remember for my first couple of years, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't understand any of it, and I was terrified going every week, but I never stopped. Something about it that just kept pulling me in, like that video. But over the years, you start to assimilate the movements, and in some strange way, the words start to make sense. And Sensei's big thing was always, I don't care how well you can do the technique on the mats. My big thing is, how well are you doing the technique in life?
Yep.
That's what I grade you on. Can you take this concept and transfer it to your business? Can you take this concept and transfer it to your relationships, to your life, to your parents, to your friends, to your work? Yeah? If you're getting upset outside of the dojo, are you using any of this stuff there? Or are you just coming to training and thinking that you're doing physical movements and just leaving it there, which is what most people do. They collect techniques and they think it's about self-defense and fighting on the streets at 2:00 in the morning because you're going to get jumped. Like, if you have to use it, then, you know, you've missed a whole bunch of things beforehand that you're not aware of.
Right.
These sorts of things that it was always talking about from day one. And I can tell you, Jack, man, and this is no disrespect to any of the study that I did, but I learned more about human psychology in my first 6 months at Ninjitsu than I did in my entire double degree.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Only because I was in it. I was in it, being twisted, bended, you know, being exposed, being shamed in front of everybody, having to sit there and learn that way. I learned so much. And then it was a process of, well, how do I combine these two things? Yeah. I can't call it a martial artist's counseling dojo thing because it doesn't make any sense. So I combined my deep background in Gestalt, which is very much in line with Ninjitsu and the ancient practices and philosophy. So I just combined the two. And I kind of made my own style.
Great.
Yeah.
Of your own style of counselling?
Yeah, my own style. My own style of being in the room with people.
And using, I guess, the principles of what you've learned through martial arts.
Absolutely.
In being there for people. Yeah.
I use the principles of Gestalt in terms of, you know, being really present. It's the moment-to-moment work, that deep listening and all that stuff. But also the principles of martial arts in terms of how we use our language, how we use our bodies, all that NLP type stuff. How to sit in discomfort.
Yep.
Huge. Learning how to sit when it's uncomfortable and lean forward. Yeah. lean forward. And it's the hardest thing to do, is to lean forward into what scares you. Yeah. For clients and for practitioners. Yeah. A lot of practitioners will work around their own discomfort and transpose it back onto the client. But what martial arts taught me is how to lean into mine, speak from there, be from there, and the clients see it and they respect it and they work off it. Yeah? They can see that when they're at their critical point, and I am right there with them.
Yep.
I learned a lot of that from that training in martial arts.
I did Sistema, which is a Russian martial art. I did it for only about 6 months, and it was fucking brutal. It was brutal. I think I eventually left because I think my my coach was expecting a bit too much of me, and I just wasn't ready to make it my life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I disengaged.
Yep.
But I really regret not getting back into a martial art, and it's never too late. But I remember at that point I was working in a cafe, and we'd have these insane busy rushes, a really, really busy cafe in the city. And we'd have dockets like up to, 2 meters, 3 meters long of just dockets, and everyone's waiting, and it's stressful. It's really, really stressful in hospitality sometimes. And part of Sistema is really focusing on the breath. So it's a big part of it is kind of meditating through immense stress. And once you program yourself to do that, everything else, like these coffee dockets and this stress and everyone waiting, it'll get done when it's done. Like, it just kind of went away. It's just a big, deep breath under stress, and was able to manage stressful things in my life so much better. And I do regret not following through with the martial art. I think I just also didn't... it's practical, yeah. It's quite a strange martial arts system, you know? And I think that's been a thing, is trying to figure out exactly which martial art I'd want to commit to.
Yeah.
But as a result, I've ended up committing to none, which is a shame. But anyway, I guess my point is, I can completely see how it does translate and empowers you in all aspects of your life, and I think it's awesome. How did it like really affect and change you in relation to where you were at in life, and you said you were counselling, and it wasn't really, you felt like more...
It changed everything. Yeah, it changed everything. It changed everything from how I thought about the world to how I viewed myself. And Sensei was always about unlocking possibilities. He was always about unlocking possibilities in yourself and in the world. It's endless and limitless. You know, in Butcherkan, we do the impossible was our slogan. We just do the impossible. As soon as you understand it, it's possible. What's the next impossible thing? Find it, do it. And in order to find that next impossible thing, you can't be the guy you were back here. So it was, the art itself would force you, just through attending, to change. So there's only one technique really that we studied, and that was the technique of change. The study of nature and how nature changes. So a big part of Ninjitsu philosophy was around natural law, nature, and how nature operates, and becoming more in line with that. And nature changes. Nature doesn't think. It adapts. It changes. It doesn't complain. Yeah? Nature never stops and wonders whether it's, looks good in its genes before it sends the tide in or whatever. It just does. Yeah. And getting more in line with that. But in order to make the next change, you can't be that guy. So it was consistent, like, polishing of my personality, my spirit, and what I wanted out of life. Because it was like, you can have anything you want.
Yeah.
Anything. It's all there for you. What do you... everything that's on the line is everything you've ever wanted. That was what he kept feeding to me. Everything that's on the line is everything you've ever wanted. But you've got to change. So martial arts was just about that continuous change. But change is really hard Jack, because you threaten everything when you change.
Yep.
To get more of what you need, as you were talking about before, about making changes and looking after yourself, yeah, you start to change and people's expectations of you stay the same,
Right. Right.
right?
Yep.
They don't change. That's why many people stay the same. They know they need to change. They know they're suffering. They know they're in a bad way. But this whole idea about what people will think and what these relationships that they have in their life will turn into, just don't do it. So making big changes is really hard. Choosing yourself and polishing yourself and continuously doing that, the people around you are going to stop recognizing you after a while. Now, they'll either come with you, change with you, or be curious enough to celebrate it with you, or they start to
Bring you down a bit.
bring you down and then
Make fun of you.
And then naturally, I was accused of being in a cult. I had an intervention done.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's like when I got into rum dust and went to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's the
came
same
back,
thing,
peace
like-
and love. And
Wait, let me get this straight. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm the most content in my work I've ever been. I've had the most time I've ever had, and I'm the busiest I've ever been. I'm struggling to see what the problem is here. Oh, you've changed, and we're worried about you. I said, yeah, I've changed.
Yeah.
And it kind of dawned on me that it really is threatening when you change. It really threatens people's perceptions. And those that, I've said before, those that profit off maybe your low boundaries or your low standards aren't going to cheer for you when you raise them.
Right.
Because they don't get what they need from you anymore. If you're a yes person and you start saying no,
That's been me.
hello,
A lot. Yep.
yeah, you're not always going to be met with a pat on the back and like, fuck, I'm really proud of you, Jack. Well done for choosing yourself, man. I'm going to go away and do that myself.
Yep.
No, you don't. And so that can be quite threatening for people, quite scary. And change means you got to lose that version of yourself. There's a lot of grief involved, story, ego. If you've been attached to that thing, that trauma, that story, and you're going to change, you have to leave that behind. And it's always grabbing on. It always wants to come back.
Yeah.
So that's how it changed me as a person. It forced me 4 days a week for 12 years to keep looking for the next change. Keep looking for the next change. Move towards it. Lean into it. Find it.
Seeking discomfort.
Seeking discomfort.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. So Sensei would deliberately make training uncomfortable. Because basically your operating system is, who you are when you get most uncomfortable, what you do when you're most uncomfortable, the face you put on when you're most uncomfortable. That is driving the bus. And if you've got no concept of that part of yourself, you're basically driving blind. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Do you think most of us are driving blind in life?
What do you think?
I mean, well,
Yeah.
I can only really kind of relate it to myself, really. It's very funny to call everyone, NPCs, like non-player characters and stuff like that. And, but like, I think I'm a combo of both, a combo of ambition and totally being lazy and comfortable and letting things go. I guess that's where the work comes in, right? I mean, you can keep hearing the lessons over and over and over, but you can fall into comfort again. And it's,
Well, we're comfort creatures.
Right.
We're habit. We're formed off habit. And we repeat things so we don't have to think about them when we do them naturally. That's how we're built. And we're not necessarily built to be aware of what we're doing. And that's that kind of interplay. Yeah, we're destined for so much, and we can feel it, but we're not built to be aware of what we're doing. And that struggle's always at play of everything you could possibly be, but a bunch of habits that don't work for you anymore, but you're not necessarily aware that you're doing them. And they're so inbuilt in people, from little tics, little words, thoughts, actions, body language. And like, if we can go real deep on body language, but the way I understand body language today is how you move your body and what that translates to your mind, and then what your mind then translates into language.
Meaning like the way you're actually holding
The
yourself
way you hold yourself.
is a direct reflection of how you view yourself.
Yeah. From how you hold yourself, from where you spend your time, to what you listen to. Yeah. How you look, whether you care about any of that stuff. Yeah. To what you like in public. How do you stand with your... Are you standing straight? Are you leaning over? Are you the one that always moves out of the way when people step towards you? Are you always saying sorry for things? Like this, it's all body language, and the way you move your body in space sends a message to your brain and then formulates language about how you should think and feel about yourself. So yes to all of it.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that for a very long time,
Yes to
actually.
all of it.
I'm just kind of thinking about my own body language and haven't really checked in and assessed that for a very long time.
You know, your relationship with money, how you operate in that space, you know, then where you position yourself based on your beliefs around money. That's all body language.
Right.
Because it's telling you a particular story about how you should think and then how you should feel about yourself. And then it'll position you around other people that think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Law of attraction. Yeah?
Yeah. When I was 17, I went to an Anthony Robbins seminar. I think it was, 5 days or something like that.
Brilliant.
And it was, it changed my life. At that point in my life, I was trying to be a little fucking thug, rat bag. Believe it or not, I'm a skinny little bitch. And I was a little rat bag back there. Anyway, it completely just like...
I don't know. I wouldn't want to see you angry, Jack.
I've got a story for you for later.
I would not want to see you angry.
But anyway, back to the Anthony Robbins one. I remember one of the hardest things that it was towards the end of the seminar was one of the things he was saying that you just kind of touched on, and he was mentioning about change. And then when you come back from your seminar, people are they're not going to recognize you, and they're going to want to change you and say, how was your seminar? Oh, yeah. And pull you, kind of pull you back down to where they left you. And then he just said, if that's your friends, get new friends. And it's so blunt, so hard. And I was like, pfft. And at that point in my life, like I said, I was hanging out with I was trying to be tough at that point. I was trying to be tough, and I was hanging out with other people who were tough, and they didn't really give a fuck about me, like really. But it was hard, I could apply it to some people, but there was a few people I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's going to be hard to I'm scared to come back different because of that. But they were actually really cool with it. They were sweet, and that's when I realized they were friends. But yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like the people we surround ourselves is a kind of like reflection of who you are. Like you could kind of get all your friends and you could treat it like a math equation, and them plus them plus them plus them equals you.
Equals you.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It can be hard sticking to your guns, I guess, knowing what's best for you. And yeah.
Especially when it goes against that.
Yeah.
That group thinking. Yeah. When you start to think outside the group.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's that thinking that brought you all together.
Yeah. That's your role.
That's your role. Your role is to be that, is to think that. And if you start threatening that, well then, I've said this before, when it happens a lot with couples too, Jack, like, if you come in and you've got a partner, one of my opening statements is always, if you can commit to this work and you keep doing it, and you get in the chair and you sit in the chair every week over time, you're going to be less recognizable each and every time to your partner.
Right.
So just be aware of that. Yeah. And, that's then your responsibility to either, to bring them along, to let them in or not let them in, or whatever you want to do. But I'm just letting you know that as you go along the journey, you're going to be doing a certain set of things that your partner's not doing. So just be conscious of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you are doing therapy. Martial arts has come into your life.
Beautiful. I love the way you brought that all the way around. That's so good. Nice one, Jack.
A big part of that is relationship to yourself, right? I guess empowerment is kind of introduced into the equation.
Yeah.
And if we fast forward all the way to now, you are, in my opinion, I think you've got that same transmission as Anthony Robbins when I speak to you or hear you speak. It's and that's one thing I was interested to kind of, I don't know,
that's humbling,
dwell
man.
on.
Thank you.
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah.
I really, totally, genuinely mean that. But one thing that I've heard the lesson many, many times, and you can hear it and you can take action then and there. Like I said before, we all get lazy and comfortable. But it's, I guess, from going from dealing with people with trauma and all this stuff, but actually going not just from therapy, but going from surviving to thriving and actually introducing empowerment into your, I mean, it's almost like life coaching, right? Well, it's a pretty cheesy term, but it's building people up into self-warriors or empowered beings that can actually shape and create their life, their future. I mean, how do we do it? So how do we? What's the work when we talk about the work? We talk about doing the work. Because I love self-help. I love Anthony Robbins. I love Ram Dass. I love all these Eckhart Tolle, all these different things, and I hear them. I'm a spiritual binger. I listen. I take it on. I'm there. Then life happens.
Wow, it's such a big question.
Yeah.
Work. But just the way you were describing it is literally how I set up my business. It was counseling, dealing with trauma, just helping people with their problems, and as the problems would subside, they would go. Then when I designed Mind Ninja, was keeping the counseling, bringing in the martial arts, that kind of dynamism, so to speak, because martial arts is what helped me thrive in life. It got me out of just fighting for my life with my little understanding of what I was doing in life. It got me out of that, and it got me to see the infinite potential. So it got me to start thinking about what thriving might look like and the unlimited resources we have. Each and every one of us has got it. I think each and every one of us has got a business inside of us. I truly believe that. Yeah? We're all... Think about how unbelievably fucking lucky we all are to be here. The odds that we haven't got something deeply special within all of us. I prescribe to that. But it's just those layers of what's happened to us in our life and the traumas that get in the way. And so it was the martial arts that really opened my eyes to the infiniteness of everything, if that's even a word. There's just possibilities in everything and the resources. And one of Sensei's quotes is minimum of 3. And I'll share that with everyone today, meaning before you decide on anything, give me 3 other angles of what it could be.
Okay.
Before you decide you're upset about something or something's hurt you, what could be 3 other angles you can think about that might change your perception of that, and maybe even use it as something to help you, to guide you, to shape you, to build you. One thing might be that, I'm upset because this guy did something. Well, another angle might be, well, how did I contribute to that? Immediately, boom, just asking that question gives you more empowerment.
Right.
Yeah? What did I do to contribute to that? And the third question might be, or the third angle might be, actually, was it that guy's fault at all? Clearly, I created him. I put him there. What lesson am I supposed to learn from this? I trained him to treat me like that. He treated me accordingly. Why am I upset? Oh, shit. I can't. Wow. I need to distance myself from this person. And so what would seemingly have looked like an attack, has now been something so positive, and you can move this person out of your life and put some distance in, and now I feel empowered. I'm no longer taking your text messages. I'm no longer returning your calls. I'm no longer doing this A, B, C, D. Small example of how you can go from, thinking things are one way to maybe expanding your thinking a little bit.
Right.
There's 3 sides to every belief. Your belief, the exact opposite, and one more thing.
Right.
Meaning, if you can find 3, you can find 5.
Yeah, if you've already created one created some space between the emotional reaction, I guess, and 2 created options.
Absolutely. And 5 in Japanese is the same meaning as to leave home, meaning enlightenment. Yeah. Now you've left home. If you can find 5 different ways to look at something that would normally trigger you, now you've left home.
So these lessons that you're kind of like this one in particular that you're kind of describing, and
but you've got to be aware enough to see it in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Practicing awareness, but I guess so. Relating to martial arts and how that kind of those lessons are kind of taught through sensei. Would they be like really kind of these conversations that I had, or are these in direct experience? Like, I'm attacking you. Can you could block, you could divert, or you could preemptive strike.
Sorry, if you stand up, sorry.
Sure.
No one's going to be able to see this. You can probably hear it. But if you just holding a mic as well, I love that. Yeah, I can hold a mic while I do it, no problem. But if you just take your headphones off, if you come swinging in, just come swinging in. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 points of contact, and that's how he would train us. So so there's 3 points of contact, 3 different angles. And 3 different things I can use. If you move your foot, I'll feel it. If you move your left hand, I'll feel it. If you move your right hand, I'll feel it. Whatever you want to do. If you move this way, so my head's here. If you want to move that towards my head, I'll just move that way. Right?
Yeah.
Back here. Now, if you want to move with this hand, if you want to move with that hand towards my head, yeah, good. So I'll just move out of the way and look where my knee is.
Very close to my
testicular.
Yeah.
So he would always get you thinking in 3s, meaning you've got always more than one option.
Right.
But if you go to punch me and I'm focused on the punch, then I'm only thinking about one thing.
Right.
I'm only thinking about one thing. So he would always broaden your vision to see more than one thing in any situation that you're in. That's how he would teach us.
Awesome.
Yeah? Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what's the work, and how do you go from surviving to thriving? Well, that's very similar to how my ninja was created. Like, I was so passionate to explore in my work what I was doing in my training. Meaning, I'm thriving, I'm using all of this stuff, I'm building my business, I'm building the life that I want, I've got great people around me, I've chopped out all the dead wood. We're doing amazing things and visiting amazing places with my training, and how can I translate this into my work? And so that's to get you to your question before about how my ninja started. I wanted to go just beyond the trauma.
Yeah.
So once I get you to a place where the trauma's managed, so to speak, or understood, and you've got a copy of your blueprint in your hand.
Right.
Then we use that blueprint, just like we did then.
Thank you for not murdering me just now.
And then we can draw more blueprints off of that original one. Right, we've got this now. How can we not only use that, but use other blueprints and to build this thing out? And that's when I would use more of the teachings from Sensei around how to build your life out, man. I've seen people go from traumatized, almost mute, to $1 million e-commerce companies.
Wow.
I've seen guys go from addiction, to massive companies with staff. Addiction, could barely manage themselves, and now not only are they thriving, but they've got staff, they're leaders in their own companies. I've seen people go from trauma to being teachers, leaders in community, and it's all, I believe, from the lessons from the martial art and that kind of taking someone's trauma and then turning it into triumph.
Right.
Using the same story, but just finding different ways in which to redirect it. Do you remember how we spoke before about opposites? If your life's one way, you're already the opposite.
Right.
Yeah. So if you put all this energy into being one way, well, the opposites are also true. It's my job to help you find it. And so that's when we start going more into the coaching side of things and helping people discover maybe what their passion might be.
Right.
Yeah. And really getting into, well, if you don't know what your passion is, well, let's work on it. Let's work on what your passion might be. Yeah. Let's start spending time with yourself. That's where a lot of the self-care stuff comes in. Yeah.
Right. On like kind of when you're dealing with people with severe trauma or mental illnesses or I mean even not even but like when we build up these like life scripts, I guess, our story. Why do you think why do we hold on to that story so dearly when it's just completely not serving us?
What do you think?
Well, we mentioned before about creatures of comfort.
Yeah.
I think there's something there. We stick to what we know. But often that comfort is severe discomfort. And I get a bit confused around that space. Particularly when people have got it really tough. And part of that having it really tough self-perpetuates and makes their life, and they make their life really tough.
Yeah.
And from the outside, it can be really confusing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a form of addiction.
Right.
Our story. So we're all in essence addicts to our story, because it's the thing that's been played over the most, and we'll always choose the story we understand versus the story that has yet to unfold.
Is that because if you understand your story so dearly, or you're so familiar with it, to lose that story is to lose the self? Is that, that's the equivalent of dying, or like, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
So identity is the most important thing in our survival.
Identity and fitting in. So we learned these things to fit in.
Right.
You know, fitting in, not sticking your head up because your head will get chopped off, so to speak. We do these things to fit in. Within our families, within our society, within our communities, we creatively adjust to what we didn't get met, and we pick up our traits and our mannerisms and our habits off of what we needed to do to survive. So we keep doing that to survive. And if you ask about why do we keep hanging on to our stories, well, it's because it's helped us survive. And to our body, we're always going to choose the thing that helps us survive, even if it's causing us considerable pain. Yeah? You can be looking at a needle, know the damage it's going to do to you, still pick it up and put it in your arm.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it's what you've told yourself you need to do to survive. Oh, it's an extreme example, but you can.
Could be drinking beers.
It could be whatever,
be
smoking, drinking beer,
yeah.
procrastination, whatever it is.
Yep.
You do it over and over and over and over and over again, and we're really good at convincing ourselves, of the reasons why we're not going to do the thing we know we need to do to change or get better. We're really good at it as people because we're programmed to hold on to our stories because we are our stories. Without it, what are we? What are we without a story?
I don't know.
Not much.
I mean, not much.
And in therapy, that's the big thing is if I'm working on someone's story, I'm really conscious of not ripping it away from them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm almost bridging. Yeah. As I'm working through the old story, I'm building the new story, but I'm not ripping this one down until this one's kind of built as well. If that kind of makes sense. Yeah. So I'm not trying to get rid of what someone's done to keep themselves alive for 20 years. When I work with them, I'm aiming to understand how they've used it to help keep them alive, and it's a useful ally. How can we use this ally to build this version of you?
Yeah.
So we're not ripping something down to build something up. Yeah. And then they end up working together. Simplified, I know, but it's a little bit more complex than that.
Yeah, there's a comedian and podcaster that I like called Duncan Trussell, and one time he was talking about changing his relationship to the ego, and he used to be so obsessed with trying to get rid of his ego. He's a bit of a hippie and stuff, and then he just changed his relationship to eventually being like, no, I see you. You're flaring up at someone who's offended you. Thank you, but you've served me, but you're not needed right now. And that's what he says to himself.
It's a relationship of love.
Yeah.
That's the part about understanding. When you say what's the work, it's getting that blueprint and understanding that guy inside out.
Right.
And discomfort is the way we do it.
What are some of the kick up the bum? Or I mean, it's a bit of a silly question because everyone's so different. And everyone's story is so different. But how do we unstick from the story, the life script? How do we excite ourselves enough or kick ourselves up the bum enough to flip the? I've already answered it. Flip the dial.
How?
Discomfort.
Discomfort.
Yeah.
If your listeners take anything from today, this whole thing is about discomfort. I know we're talking in concepts and we're probably, going off the track with our answers because that's the way we have our conversations as well.
What track? There's no track. There's no track.
But it really is all about discomfort from the discomfort that you're hiding from, the discomfort that you put yourself in, the discomfort that it's going to take to change. Me as a practitioner, what discomfort can I tolerate? Yeah, as well. I've got to sit in every moment not knowing in order for you to understand. So it's very uncomfortable as a practitioner because I'm always moving myself to the position of not knowing.
Yeah.
So practitioners think that their job is to fix or understand or know or diagnose, where I'm moving the other way. I'm like, I always err on the side of not being too sure what I'm being told, but I'm fucking laser focused in finding out. And the only time I find out is when you know. And that can take time. Yeah? And that's really uncomfortable, Jack. It's really uncomfortable to hold someone there for that amount of time until they can see what they're doing. And when they can clearly see what they're doing, they now have a path. You either keep doing that or we can come over here and try this, knowing that this guy's going to block you every time. Yeah? And it really is discomfort. It's discomfort that's stopping you from you were saying before, I'm so fucking hungry, I want it. That place. Yeah. And why do we keep going back to doing the things that don't get us to that fuck I want it place? Yep. Because it's really uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
It's really, really uncomfortable. And
I mean, for me, business is I'm so bad at it. Like business is just this scary place for me because I don't know, haven't really ever done it properly.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm ready, you know.
Great.
But yeah, it's negotiating, things like this, all this kind of adult shit. Adult shit.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
It's some people
But
thrive
even in your
off it,
language,
you know?
like it's adult shit, which means you're in a particular story that you haven't
quite
grown up out of
Right.
yet. It's like I'm so bad at business,
Yep.
and it's all this adult shit. So you're hanging on to a particular story there, right? And you believe business to be a particular thing,
A big mountain to climb.
a big mountain to climb. But this is business.
Yep.
Depends what your idea of business is.
Yeah. I think that's just so often when like I'm talking to you or speaking to you, it does take me back to little snippets of Anthony Robbins and stuff. And, you know, like there's one thing about picking a big task. It can be a big mountain or it can be a couple of steps, you know, and that's about goal setting too, right? You can have a goal to make an album of music and that's a huge thing. Producers, look at learn an instrument, or you could just like come up with a beat, you know, straight away. And that sounds good. That sounds shit. And it's just actually breaking down the big goal into heaps of tiny, small goals that actually just makes it, you get way more rewards along the way because you're achieving more goals. I've never been great at goal setting. I've got big, broad goals.
Yeah.
But
you've got to know yourself to set goals. Because how do you know? How do you know? You got to know yourself well enough to set goals. You got to know that that's what you want in order to set it.
Right.
Everyone has kind of those lofty goals of, you know, I want this and I want that, but to be really specific and clear in your goals, like this is exactly what I want to do and this is exactly where I want to be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. You got to know yourself. You got to be confident enough in that's the direction that you're going in, and then you put the small steps in place every single day to help you get there. Yeah, and then, you know, ask yourself the question, is what I'm doing right now moving me towards that or away from that? If it's away from that, then you're probably in your habits and in your story. And that happens a lot. But just on discomfort again, when I used to run classes, this would be the best way I can describe it. When I would run a class, when I was teaching at uni, I'd get 30 people in a room. Nobody knows each other. They don't know me. We've all met for the first time. They come in, they sit down, and I'm completely mute. I don't say anything. I'm really comfortable there.
Yeah. That's when interesting stuff happens too.
I'm really comfortable there. And you watch the noise. The noise is fucking fever pitch when they all walk in. And then one by one, they all notice that I'm not saying anything. And I'm sitting on the edge of my desk and I'm just looking at each and every one of them. And one by one, they all shut up. And they all start looking at each other. And they're all looking at me, then each other, then down, then up, then around. I'd stay quiet for minutes, which seemed like hours. Right at the point where you can feel it, I'll go, right, welcome to counselling and communications, where you're going to learn exactly what that feeling is and what it means and how it drives your life, and how it either helps or hinders you to get what you want, both in practice and in life. So pick a partner, any partner. You got 5 seconds to pick someone, sit in front of them, do not say a word. And so they all pick a partner, they all sit in front of each other, giving away trade secrets here, but oh well. Their job was to sit in front of this person for 5 minutes and not say anything. Person you've never met. It's truly one of the most beautiful things where firstly you're met with that discomfort. And that discomfort you feel, that place that you go to when you're most uncomfortable, that's the part of you that's driving the bus. And if you don't know that person well enough, you're not going to be sure where that bus is going to go. You've got to get a handle on that version of you that comes out when the headlights go on. Because that's the person driving the bus. And that's why discomfort's so important. Because that version of you, when the headlights hit, that's the version that's driving the bus. And my job, is to bring that guy out, get you to see him and how he helps and hinders and what story he's been telling you, give you the blueprint. And then we go and explore what might be possible for you, which comes with its whole new set of discomforts. Yeah, so it's just one procession of discomfort after another. But you need pressure and discomfort to grow. There's no growth without this. Yeah? And you watch the guys afterwards, after 5 minutes, something happens though, Jack. You know, the laughter goes, the embarrassment goes, all the noise and chortling and whatever, it all goes. Something happens. They all drop into this place.
That space, man.
They drop into the space. And I will say that space you're feeling right now, yeah, where you feel like you've known that person for a lot longer than you have, yeah, that's what you're capable of. But when that noise is in front of you, you can't see anything. And then, boom, I'd get everybody to talk. And you could blow the roof off the joint. Seeming strangers who've just experienced that 5 minutes with each other.
What is that? What is that? That's the fucking goal right there. That's the magic. It's I've had that. I've had that a few. I'm so lucky to have experienced that. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it excites me. It's like it makes you think everything's possible. Anything's possible.
You know, 98% of languages or communications non-verbal. And a big part of our discomfort is how we use our words. Yeah, it's how we use our language. Remove that. You get to see quite a bit quite quickly. So that was how I introduced the subject, and it's like that. In order to be great at your practice, and in order to have a fulfilling life, you need to get to know that character really well. Yeah, that character that when you get really, really, really uncomfortable and you break out into whatever kind of defense mechanisms you have that stop you from experiencing that moment and thriving in it.
When you've dealt with so many people with trauma.
Yeah.
Day in, day out.
So many.
So, sometimes energy is sticky. Sometimes it's how can you just go to the next person when someone's telling you they're about to fucking kill themselves or some shit?
Yep.
And day in, day out, every single day, how do you, how do you not let it get the better of you? I can understand a lot of it coming from strength and constantly putting yourself under actual physical pain and pressure actually does, calluses you up, it toughens you up. You can deal with things, but it's not just that. There's layers to it, There's so much compassion fatigue and translating that into your life. You can, I'm not a therapist, obviously, but you can learn how to be a really good therapist. But then when it also just comes to your interrelation, like your relations, when it's stickier, because your emotional responses are people you care about and you love, and if they're being mean to you or they're not seeing you or they're betraying you, it's how do you manage to keep on top of that and constantly be in a place yourself where you can rise above all that?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm not sure there's an easy answer to that one. I don't think any of the answers I've given tonight have been easy. They've been kind of moving into 4 different topics all at once, but
they've been enlightening.
That's just the way we do it, I guess. Right, so you know, I often have that discussion, like, do you need to be on the brink of burnout to know what it is than to know what to not do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
For starters, and I talk about it a lot, but, you know, each practitioner, each person goes on their own journey. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I've still yet to answer that question, whether or not you need to go to the brink of burnout to know what it is than to figure out what doesn't work and what not to do and what's more helpful. For instance, compassion fatigue. I don't, and this might be confronting for people to hear, but I don't express any compassion to my clients. I operate out of empathy, not compassion. Compassion would be to feel what my clients are feeling and to jump in there with them and to take it all on board and believe every last word of it and do everything I can to turn that around for them. And I've just learnt over the years that none of that works. And so to take all of that on board is actually damaging for me and not helpful to the client. So why would I do it?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't do it. When I hear really shocking stuff, yeah, I don't allow the compassionate side to overwhelm me. What I do is I engage my empathic side. And the empathic side is more about, okay, I want to know everything about this. I'm here with you right now. You don't scare me. This situation doesn't scare me at all. Yeah? Tell me. How much can you tell me? How detailed do you want to get? Yeah? Help me understand it all. When did it start? When did it end? Yeah? What do you remember? What don't you remember? Who was there? What were you being told? What did you hear? Blah, blah, blah. And on and on and on and on. And so I just go empathic. And empathy is learning as much as I can about the subjective story without me getting involved myself. Because it's all about them understanding what they're going through, not me.
Right.
Very little has to do with me. My job is to remain. Just to remain. To not counter-transfer over my own fear and my own shit and my own insecurity and my own trauma. And my compassion is a transference of my own story over to them.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm transferring my own feelings and my own story and what I think you're telling me over to you. Oh, you poor thing, that must be this and it must be that.
I can see myself doing it when people are asking for
and
advice.
now look, please don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place to go, wow, that must be really hard. Or I can't imagine what that must be like. But I don't allow myself to get overwhelmed by that. I just allow myself to meet you there, but to not take all of it on board. However, there is vicarious trauma.
Yeah.
You're hearing this shit whether you like it or not. You're hearing this stuff all day, and you're hearing what people do when they're at their most desperate, what they're capable of, what they want talking down from, things that have happened to them, which are some things are barbaric. I hear this stuff all the time. So you can't help but not take it on board vicariously. And for me, I know personally what I do is I become very cynical. That's a big trap for me.
Right.
That's where the senseis were really great, because they would never let me get cynical. I just get very cynical about the world. Yeah. Because I'm just hearing the shit that's happened to people. Things that people have done to other people.
Yeah.
What people are going through. Yeah? What they're hiding. The things that they tell me, but they don't show anybody else. And the part that really used to bother me, but now it's my favorite bit, is when I would walk somebody through it and they would tell me that they did it.
Yep. Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how it has to be. the clients have to think that they did it themselves, or they won't take it on board. They will get resentful because you did it for them.
That's so fucking useful, man.
They will not take it on if they think you did it.
Yep.
They'll do it, but they'll resent you for it. And eventually they'll throw it because they don't own it. And my job is for you to fucking own it. But I used to get bothered by not having the recognition. And that was me getting involved. Now it's my favorite part because it means I've done my job well.
Yep.
So I would get cynical, yeah, and I would just lose faith very quickly. And that was the vicarious trauma for me. I'd lose faith very quickly. I'd become reclusive. I don't really want to have much to do with anyone. So that's how it used to affect me. But how do I deal with it now? Well, again, I don't buy in emotionally. I've done it for a long time, so I know how to regulate how far I move in and how much I step away. My first 3 hours of my day are mine and mine alone. They're not up for discussion. They're not up for negotiation. Nobody else is involved. Just me and the dog. And that cup gets filled and filled. Firstly, the cup gets emptied. So I empty out all the rubbish from the day before. I clean it. And then the cup gets filled and filled and filled and filled and filled. And then it starts to overflow. And the only thing my clients get is my overflow.
Fuck yeah.
It's extra. I need to get it off. Like right now, like the way I'm with you now, it's like I need to get it out.
Yeah.
I need to get it out of me. It's not draining me doing this.
It translates, man. It translates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that 3 hours a day of priming and filling, where I've got so much energy stored. And I've built my life that way. I'm really lucky that I can do that. Yeah, where I can spend the first 3 hours of my day doing a 2-hour walk, doing a workout, doing a cold plunge, doing all these things, working on my goals, working on my self-talk. So by the time I get to the chair, Jack, I'm fucking bulletproof. And I've got no problem saying that. Like, come at me with whatever you want. And also, last but not least, is I know my story quite well, and I know my trauma, and I know my demons. Yeah? Yeah? My demons are pretty demonic. And once you can stare your own demons in the eyes, proper stare them in the eyes, you have no problem sitting with someone as they're trying to figure it out and not trying to rescue them from that.
Right.
Yeah? I've stared mine in my eyes. I don't need to rescue you from yours to avoid mine.
Gotcha.
Got me?
Yeah.
So I can sit comfortably in that. Put all those things together is how I do it now. But, you can say it, but it's a practice thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, a couple of years ago, I was telling you before, I was up to like 35 clients a week, more. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was battle tested. It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, before I figured all this out, I used to take it all on board, and my clients wouldn't change. They would leave and I'd be burnt out.
Yeah.
How's that work? So it's almost the opposite now. I do very, very little interfering. My clients do all the work. They stay and they change. But don't you get sick of hearing the same thing every week, Sol? Well, no, are you sick of telling me? Oh, it's just that I'm so fucking sick of hearing me talk about the same thing every week. Well, then tell me something different. But if you don't, it means you're not ready to change yet. It's okay. And we spoke before about what the work actually is, and it's sitting in that chair every week and hearing that frequency being fed back to you every week. I still can't explain it perfectly, but if you put your ass in the chair every week
Yeah.
with someone that has that level of control of themselves, and who has that level of evenness and who can just feed that back to you every single week with no fluctuations. How are you not going to change over time? Yeah. My mere going to training 4 nights a week, just by my mere being there over that many years, how can you not change? Yes, there's a lot of work that goes in between that, but 90% is putting your ass in the seat and doing it every week and making that a habit, making that a commitment.
Yep.
When you can do that, then you can fan out. Yeah. And so that's that. I mean, yeah, I went off track a little bit there again, but that's how I stay clean of the work, of the stories.
There's a Ram Dass quote. Do you know Ram Dass? Is it? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
Love
Yes,
Ram Dass.
yes.
There's a Ram Dass quote where he says something like, I might butcher it, but it's I work on myself to be in service to others, and I'm in service to others to work on myself.
Shut it down. Podcast over. Because you are the only. That's it.
Yeah.
You're the only one here, Jack. Like in your world, you're the most important thing. If you're not taken care of, you can't expect for that person sitting in front of you to be helped. So actually, moreover you helping the client, actually the help comes from how well you can help yourself, how well you show up to the chair. I love that. Podcast over. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. The more you work on yourself, the more you know who you are, and the better you can control that, the cleaner the space is in the room and the more your client can feel it. But as practitioners, we think we need to fix, we think we need to be the experts. When we're talking to friends, we think we need to come up with the answer for them. There's an old quote, like if you ask a question, you already know the answer. So your job's not to answer it for them. Yeah? All right. Well, what's going on? What do you think you should do? What have you tried? Whatever the question is. What happened? Okay. Well, that's interesting. And just becoming more curious rather than trying to fix. They've got the answers.
They hear themselves talk.
And the question I always ask is, now that you've said it out loud, what are you hearing differently? Same story, different angle. Now that you've said it out loud, yeah, don't need to jump in there and try and fix it. It's too much effort. And generally fixing is an avoiding of the self. If you jump in and try and fix, all you're doing is avoiding something over here and you're seeing it over there, and it's easier to fix it over there. Right?
Yep.
That's in life and in therapy.
Yeah, I reckon I can definitely take away quite a lot from just that lesson alone, man.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Dude,
We are pumping.
Yeah.
We are pumping. How long have we been going for?
Hour 20, man.
What? Yeah.
Dude.
I got another 4 hours in me at least. At least. Any other questions?
How does it feel to wake up every morning and piss excellence, Sol?
There's your laugh. Mate, I wake up every morning and it's a work in progress, truly. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Mate, there are people out there that are light years ahead of me in terms of what they're doing. So I'm always humbly with my head down, just aiming towards those guys that I admire and I work towards, and I just get to work. It's not about pissing excellence. It really is about progress. And just constantly, every day, chipping away at just being that little bit better, being that little bit clearer, being that little bit more self-aware and selfish. Selfish in terms of your mental health and your health is something that we're not taught. Yeah? And I'm extremely selfish about my mental health. Yeah. So I love you. Your compliments. Your compliments. Like I don't mean to deflect that one, but yeah. There's always work to do, brother.
Of course.
There's always work to do. So it's a work in progress, man.
Yeah.
And man, this has been such a fun chat.
Man, can I just throw a quick throwaway question? It's a big question.
Please.
Do you think enlightenment is achievable?
I think enlightenment's a moment.
Right. That's
Right.
it. Yeah.
Enlightenment's a moment when you learn something new. Depends what you think enlightenment is, I guess, is my answer.
It's a moment, and I guess some people are able to create those moments more frequently, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way of reframing the whole thing.
I think Sensei once described it as enlightenment is like catching a horse running past a window. Something like that. Catching a horse running past a window. It's like this moment. And yeah. When you learn something new or you're awakened to a different way of seeing things. Yeah. But there's always something else to learn. So I don't know, I kind of see enlightenment as something you're always working towards.
Totally.
Yeah, but you never quite get there.
Yeah.
Because again, once you think you know something, immediately you've created the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like to try and achieve being free of the ego. To get there, you've already created an ego around that.
I love that comment. Be free of the ego.
Don't mean, yeah. Is that even possible? No, it's just one and the same. Almost.
Yeah, yeah.
But to bullshit yourself to think you're free of the ego is a massive ego trip.
It really is. It really is. And you know, to think there's some summit you can reach. Yeah. Like Hatsumi Sensei is 93, 4, something now.
No shit.
He's still training. He's still training. So I don't know. I think that's probably another way to answer the question. He's still training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he knows a thing or two that we don't.
Yeah.
All right. What are you taking out of tonight, Jack?
Oh man, so much. Every time I have a good, well, I haven't really, a good chat with you or listened to a good chat you've had. I've a lot, man. I mean, on what we're talking about, giving advice to people. Oh my God, exactly that. Of like, it's got to be them.
It's got to be them.
And when you're trying to constantly tell people, and then you're like, why don't they listen? Why I gave them the solution. And then they end up just pushing you away, or vice versa, or both. Or it just ends up not working. And, you know, when we're kind of talking about like contrasting your early therapy work to now when you're overflowing, when you're getting results and you're seeing people improving, what a wonderful kick to yourself. How amazing would that feel? And finishing weeks like that, knowing you're helping people.
It's incredible.
Contrasted to investing too much emotion in not seeing any progress and thinking that
it's soul crushing.
What am I even here for?
I've seen so many practitioners end up in retail and, you know, health food stores. Because of that very thing. And
that is just like how important self-care is. And it's said to death. It's almost cheesy to say it, but like, and I definitely don't do anywhere near enough of it.
Self-care and discomfort. They are the two most important elements. Look after yourself. Go and deliberately make yourself uncomfortable so you can find your baseline.
Right.
find out where you're really at. Find out how you really operate in the world. We can convince ourselves of anything. But go and find an art. I found mine where it was shown to me very clearly how little I was engaging in the world. Couple that with a strong self-care routine.
Yep. You're ready to go. You're ready to go.
You're ready to go. But we'll see who does it.
Right. Exactly. So, man, thank you so fucking much for the chat.
Truly, I'm really honoured. Thank you for asking me.
Mate.
And it's an honour to share this time with you, man.
Yeah, feel right back at you, man. It's been awesome. You're a very, very busy guy, but do you want people to check out any of your work, Mind Ninja? Is there anything you want people to check out, or just?
I mean, if anybody's interested and they want to reach out, they can find me. Solomon at themindninja.com.au is my email. Just look it up on the internet.
Yeah,
it's not too hard to find.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, if they want to reach out to me, they can do it that way via email, and we'll have a chat and we'll take it from there.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, brother.
Really,
really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. That was a lot of fun.
That was great.
It's going to be interesting to listen back to that.
Yeah, totally, man.
We went all around
we went
back
deep,
again.
baby.
We went into deep.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and take care. Have a lovely day. Bye.